12 seconds, new PR. Some of y'all can leave now. You're welcome. So let's talk about traps. My traps. I've brought some attention to my traps. They've gotten pretty big over the years. Now that I'm slightly less fat, they're a little more visible. I don't do shrugs. I've never done shrugs. I've never done strict shrugs, power shrugs, overloading shrugs, shrugs. Don't do them. Not something I've ever done. I would venture to say I don't do any direct trap work aside from face pulls. If you want to call face pulls direct trap work, that can be in there. And I do a lot of those. Very lightweight, high rep, high volume in nature. Generally at the end of my bench days. I'll do them here at work with rubber bands, and I'll do them, at the gym on the cable machine. But that's the icing on the cake. I don't foresee anybody building super big traps just with light face pulls. So, what have I done? And honestly, it's really simple. Here I am, about to shrug. Compound movements with full range of motion. Even if you're not directly working your traps are involved in a lot. Obviously, there's deadlifts. That's going to be the one that most people will point to, say, you get X amount of number deadlift and you're going to have big traps to show it. And there's some truth to that. It's not an absolute for everybody, but definitely, deadlifts, rowing variations. I don't personally do barbell rows. I've done like a couple training blocks of barbell rows, but I generally don't because I don't like the lower back fatigue. But I do a lot of cable rows, and even something like lat pull downs or seated cable rows with varying grips, ropes, etc. It's still going to indirectly hit my traps if I'm not focused on them directly. Pull-ups, of course, from varying angles as well, are going to, hit the traps, even if, you're not directly going at them. The one I think that gets overlooked, and it really, just from my own observations, for me personally, again, you can try this. I'm not saying this is the be-all, end-all, or this is necessarily going to work for you. But for me, OHP, like when I do blocks of heavy OHP with some decent volume, my traps seem to blow up a little bit more from OHP every time. It's never failed. So you put all these things together, and just general, even when you're fucking squatting, you got the barbell on your back and you squeeze and put your elbows down, your traps are still they're active, and they get hit by so many compound movements, even if it's not necessarily a trap movement. That mine have just, they've been there hiding under a layer of fat over the last few years, and now they're out and about for everybody to see. So I'm not saying this is how you need to do it. There may be better ways to directly hit your traps, but for me personally, and this is something you can take from me and try to apply to you, and perhaps it will do the same for you. I think the biggest takeaways for me are, the deadlifts, pull-ups, and OHP. Of course, the face pulls. Everybody should. I'm not going to say everybody should be doing face pulls, but everybody should be doing face pulls. They're memed, of course. It's one of the few things I think Jeff Cavalier got right. But I've benched 500 pounds more times than most of you guys have benched 300 pounds. And I have never had a shoulder issue from benching. Cleaning tanning beds, another story. But from benching, never had any shoulder issues. And I can't say for sure it's the face pulls, but I do a lot of face pulls, and I've never had shoulder injury from benching. And they, that again, that's like the icing on the cake for my traps. But, heavy compounds, RDLs will probably fit the bill of deadlifts too, stiff leg deadlifts, etc. Pull-ups, overhead presses. Add weight to these things, add weighted pull-ups. I haven't done those personally, but that can only emphasize that even more. The basics work. The basics fucking work. Do those. Be good at the basics. Get strong at the basics. Master the basics. And then you can pick your own flavor of icing. Peace!